listening to the Full Court Press with your host, Drew Duncan. Don't you dare touch that dial. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Full Court Press. I'm your host, Drew Duncan. Don't forget, I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all at Drew Duncan 83. Additionally, you can find me on YouTube as Drew Duncan. And don't forget to tell Alexa to play the Full Court Press by Drew Duncan on Spreaker Radio. A lot of different ways to get a hold of me. You can even leave me messages on Spreaker Radio. Pretty awesome little app. Love it. What I don't love is Alex Smith going to Washington. And I don't love it for a lot of reasons, but let me be clear. When I reported on this at the beginning of the season, and I think it was obvious that this was inevitable. Unless Alex Smith and the Kansas City Chiefs did something incredibly impressive, like at least maybe make it to the AFC Championship game and be competitive in that game, this was bound to happen. People saw what Patrick Mahomes was capable of. He was a top pick in the first round for the Kansas City Chiefs. They moved up to get him. We all knew what the situation was. That's all there is to it. Alex Smith was going to be gone. But there's a lot of things to me, though, that went into this whole scenario. And that is, number one, the play calling in the first 5 games when the Kansas City Chiefs were the lone undefeated team in the NFL and beat the New England Patriots solidly, or handily, I should say, especially in the fourth quarter where they really shined. And they utilized Kareem Hunt in so many different ways. They allowed Alex Smith to make some deep throws and win games for him. It just kind of got away from that. They started simplifying their play calling again. They got away from things that made their offense as prolific as it was. It was a diverse offense and potentially the most diverse offense in the NFL outside of what we were seeing with the Eagles and Carson Wentz. We saw a lot of the same capabilities from Alex Smith, his ability to scramble, his ability to elude guys, get upfield, create opportunities where the defense would have to move up on him, and offensive, and wide receivers were able to break off their routes and make plays happen. We just didn't see that anymore. They went from a very collegiate, open style of offense to a very simple collegiate/pro style of offense. And it just didn't work out. The New England Patriots have a top-tier defense, and they racked up 40-plus on them. And I think the most telling game was probably against the Pittsburgh Steelers. To me, that was the eye-opener that the Kansas City Chiefs in their play calling was just not up to par anymore. It wasn't the same caliber at all. And I looked at that game and I thought, this is probably going to be the beginning of the end for Alex Smith. I mean, that was when I knew that without any doubt in my mind that it was going to take a vociferous effort from Alex Smith in order to be able to keep his job. I mean, up until that game, he was having the best season of his career. And what bothers me about it is that we're not looking at this, I don't think, objectively and saying Alex Smith could be the guy. And people say, well, he doesn't belong in Washington, and what's he going to do there? And they're all talking about Kirk-Cousins and where he's going to go, and Patrick Mahomes and how his flash of rookie brilliance, in the preseason really gave the Kansas City Chiefs and their fans something to really get behind and think about. And look, I understand, okay? There's a lot of people that are going to say he's average. I personally think that Alex Smith is a top 10 quarterback in this league. I firmly believe that Alex Smith is a guy that could win you games if you let him. We've seen it. And I firmly believe that Alex Smith could do things in Washington. I mean, if Kirk-Cousins can win games there, and he's not nearly as athletic as an Alex Smith is, imagine what Alex Smith can do with Washington. And this was a very calculated move from both teams. Obviously, the Chiefs are prepared to move on. They're willing to kind of give in to the fans and themselves a little bit and let Patrick Mahomes take the reins. Clearly, the Washington team is making a calculated risk because they have decided that we can get a guy with some athleticism that would give us a chance to maybe open up our offense a little bit more. and we're willing to let Kirk-Cousins go wherever he wants to go. I just feel like we're at an impasse, and it was one of those things where you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. But beyond what I think Alex Smith, or what I know Alex Smith is capable of, how I really feel about it is that you needed Mahomes to get a couple of years under his belt. We've become so impatient as fans. We've become so impatient as journalists. We've become so impatient as coaches because there's a lot of pressure to win games. One of my favorite all-time quotes is from Bob Stoops. And he said, the thing about winning is people think that it's easy, and it's not. End quote. If everybody could win, then everybody would win. But that's just not the way that it works. Because after this Sunday, only one team is going to raise a Super Bowl trophy. And only one player is going to be named the MVP. And that's all there is to it. In select cases, a defense or multiple players have been named MVPs in Super Bowls. But I'm talking about very select cases. And one thing, though, that we do know for sure is there's only going to be one champion when the season is done. I feel like Matt Nagy really, when he took the reins and we saw that offense open back up again, was best for Alex Smith. Matt Nagy leaves. He takes a head coaching job with Chicago. And I think that that was probably a big deciding factor into whether or not keep Alex Smith. That's something else that could have played into it. But I just feel like we're so impatient and we just want this kid to come up now without realizing that only in his second season, Patrick Mahomes is going to have a big weight on his shoulders. Now, we saw some real great confidence from Mahomes in the preseason. And he looked pretty good in week 17 during the Chiefs' last game of the year. He looked all right. He looked solid. And I love what a Patrick Mahomes can do. The arm strength on the run, the ability to read defenses, his mobility in the pocket, not just looking to get yards, but create opportunities for, again, receivers to break off routes, suck in defenders, and allow guys to get open downfield and make plays. I mean, that sideline throw, I mean, if you watch that in the preseason, I mean, you pretty much knew, like, Alex Smith is going to have to do something immaculate in order to keep his job. But I think it's okay to let a guy develop. You know, Bubby Brister was a starting quarterback in this league right out of the gate. And he took the Pittsburgh Steelers to the playoffs and got him to a divisional round against the Denver Broncos. And they dominated the better part of that game, and John Elway and company made a comeback. And late in that game, Bubby Brister was flailing his arms and trying to get guys down at the line of scrimmage, and the snap got messed up, and he bobbled it, and they fumbled it, and they lost the football, and Denver inevitably won the football game. Years later, Bubby Brister is under John Elway, or behind John Elway, I should say. And he said that he learned more from watching John Elway on the sidelines than he ever did as a starter in this league. Now, what does that tell you? How many people out there that are Tim Tebow fans feel like Denver should have found a way to keep Tebow, bring in Manning, let Tebow learn from one of the best in the business, and then go from there? Brett Favre wasn't originally a starter in this league. Brett Favre learned on the sideline before he got a shot. I just feel like this is a bad move for Kansas City. It is a 100% calculated risk, and that's exactly what it is. A huge risk. Because now what do you do at your backup position? Because you're going to have to stock up now. I mean, you're putting it all on Mahomes, and you're hoping that he, in his second year, is able to carry the team to what exactly? I know that Kansas City Chiefs fans just want to win a damn playoff game. I get it. It's been over 20 years since they've been able to win one at home. And the only one that they've won in the last 27 was on the road against the Houston Texans, and that was in overtime, and they were not a great football team. The Texans, anyway. The Chiefs have blown multiple leads in the Indianapolis Colts game, the Jacksonville game. I know that you're frustrated and you just want something to change and give in. But by the same token, you can have a Patrick Mahomes who's seasoned and ready to go and create something spectacular for you for years to come. Or You can throw them out there to the wolves and see what happens. Not everybody's Tom Brady, guys, and not everybody comes in behind the guy and makes a big splash. Not everybody's Aaron Rodgers or Brett Favre. They are few and far in between. How many backups in this league who were top draft guys ended up coming in either as a starter or taking the reins in their second year and not being able to do big things? Yeah, there's been other cases too. Donovan McNabb is a great example of a guy who was behind somebody else as a top draft pick, and he carried the Philadelphia Eagles for a very long time. I named some good examples. But of all those guys I named, Brady, Favre, and McNabb, that's 3. How many others didn't cut the mustard? This is the Full Court Press. I am Drew Duncan. Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram is all at Drew Duncan 83. Don't forget I'm on YouTube as Drew Duncan. And don't forget to tell Alexa to play the Full Court Press by Drew Duncan on Spreaker Radio. We got a lot more to talk about. We just had Alexis Love on the program. Very good take all the way around. Looking forward to her book. And additionally, coming up next, another hard-hitting issue, McGregor and Mayweather. What will we see? You guys know. Don't you dare touch that dial.